Today's crypto story is posted by a user named Lemanaftali on January 2, 2021. My girlfriend left me a year ago because she thought I was in a Bitcoin cult and therefore completely financially irresponsible. True story. With Bitcoin hitting all-time highs as we transition into 2021, I wanted to share my Bitcoin ruined my relationship story with you guys. Maybe you will appreciate it, at least. I met a woman in early 2017 while taking postgraduate classes. While I admit I was a bit apprehensive of her at first, over time she warmed on me until she simply became my best fucking friend on earth. You know what it's like when someone totally accepts you and loves you and wants to spend every second with you. Yes, it was like that. And any man or woman alive who has also had this knows exactly how it makes you feel. It's like the world is covering you kisses. It feels like God is rubbing your tummy. People who love you like this can be a grounding force in your life, and something about our connection just made me feel so alive, giving me strength at times I simply couldn't have found anywhere else. There's just something magic about having someone you can't wait to go home and share your day with. And I had that. We had that. But my girlfriend was so stressed. Holy shit, she was so stressed. About what? Money. Money, man. Dear God, her anxiety would sing like siren. And I got it, loud and clear. Forgive me, this is going to be a long story. You see, I grew up pretty poor, as did she. But at some point in her life she had married up into the Nordstrom family. Yes. That Nordstrom. As you can imagine, going from growing up in a small rural home with a barn to traveling in private planes is quite the life upgrade. I don't want to share too much about the details of this relationship, but suffice it to say she managed to get her 3 kids through college, which was literally all she wanted. When I met her, she was exhausted. In process of divorce. The marriage, even with all the wealth, the Ferraris, the vineyards, etc., it just wasn't worth it to her anymore. She often said she just felt like just rolling over and dying once all her children grew up and moved on. Empty nest syndrome. For real. And that's about the time we met. The journey of falling in love with someone happens slowly, but brilliantly. At first it was just us talking after classes. And then it was car rides. And then she was hanging out at my house, and I hers. And then over the months, we just absolutely fell in love. I mean, we loved each other. And we went everywhere together, did amazing things. I loved her kids and her other family, and she loved mine. Loved to travel. Loved to go out in nature together. Loved to take mushrooms and ecstasy and stay up all night having sex. It was amazing. I was finally safe and at home. It felt like my life was finally coming together. But then the panic set in as she was finalizing the divorce. She was only going to walk away with $800,000. Now I know that $800,000 is a lot of fucking money. A lot. It's more than I have right now. But when you are divorcing someone whose net worth is $65 million, $800,000 after 7 years of marriage is pretty slim pickings. Ultimately though, it means you are still going to have to work. It means you aren't able to just, well, spend at any moment anymore. And that means change. You can be as critical as you want of how easy rich people have it, but I promise you that going from a life of never having to worry about money back to having to worry about money again. It's fucking painful, guys. Really painful. And I understood this on some level because my dumbass sold a large portion of my Bitcoin at $220, but that's another story. And I wanted to help her. Because I loved her. She got $800,000 in late 2018. It was around the time I decided I wasn't going to ever waste another moment on not buying all the Bitcoin I could. You see, Bitcoin was back down to the 6K to 7K range, and so I was adding as much as I could. Even had my mom adding. And that's about the time I started to tell my girlfriend about Bitcoin for the first time. Well, my girlfriend at first hears me out, listens, it makes sense to her. She even buys a Bitcoin. A whole Bitcoin, and 5 ETH, and even a few Litecoin I think. Which is more than I even had at the time, and I had just embarked on my I'm never selling again Bitcoin path. Cool. Let's put it together. Awesome. Here's our 1.9 BTC. I'll keep adding. She takes the other 95% of that 800K and puts it in stocks. I'm like, perfect. We endure the crash to 3 to 4K, though some of her stocks were crashing too, and I'm still adding. She doesn't say much during this time, but I can see she's evaluating me and my Bitcoin investment I got her into. We joke about it. I promise her that eventually the price has to go up. To simply wait. Over the next few months we have lots of few talks about finances, buying a home, etc. It gets really stressful at times because she feels like I have no clue what I'm talking about because I'm A, 5 years younger than her, and B, have never dealt with more than 50k worth of money. And I, the guy who trades derivative and does my entire family's taxes, think she doesn't know anything about finances except how to spend money. This seems to sadly becoming the one factor that's going to tear us apart. And we were both painful stubborn when the topic came up. Then Bitcoin goes to 13.8k. Bam. This was during the Bitcoin 2019 convention. I actually stayed on the couch with her daughter and her boyfriend in the city so that I could attend. I'm telling her all my little cute stories. Oh, I met so and so. Oh, I was having drinking beer with that Peter guy I'm always telling you about. Haha, listen to the news story about Craig Wright's stupid ass. And then Bitcoin starts to crash again. It's around then, 10k, that she tells me she wants to sell. I tell her she can sell, sure, but I promise she is going to regret it. Look, Bitcoin is very likely going to go to 100k and then $1 million someday. She just rolls her eyes at me. But still, she doesn't sell. Later she says she wants to sell it so she can buy a truck for me so I can do my work. I'm an independent contractor. I tell her I absolutely appreciate the offer, but I would prefer her hold the Bitcoin to me having the truck as I had access to a truck anyway. I'm trying to figure out how to reasonably talk her into investing more in Bitcoin, but I don't say anything. She has her 1 BTC now, she can watch price action, and she will keep adding if it start to show to be a worthy investment. It hurts when you see something that others don't. I mean, it really sucks. To be called deluded. To be ridiculed. But I took it all in stride. I just told her if she ever really wants to sell, that I would help her do so. Then she suddenly decides she has to move across the country because she is too poor now to live in Sonoma County anymore, her reasoning. I try to tell her that's ridiculous, that me and her family are here. But she won't have it. She is adamant. She wants to move south. And she begins to scope out places. For several months, we travel to the south. We consider 7 different states as possible candidates. Then she up and just goes to Arizona, alone, and loves it. Invites me down to visit and consider moving there with her. I look at places there too. I'm not a fan of the heat, and I told her Arizona was at the bottom of my list, but I love her. It's just her anxiety gets to be unbearable of the next 3 weeks. She can't handle the thought of moving there alone and losing everything. She feels like her world is crashing in. No money. She feels like she is being forced to move to Arizona to buy a small home and get a shit job because she's back to being poor again. And now she thinks I'm bailing on her and that I don't love her because I'm apprehensive about uprooting my life and moving to the desert. But I feel like she's bailing on me. So she comes back to the city one last time to get her stuff. I'm starting to try to figure out when and how I'm going to follow her and move to Arizona. I'm absolutely in love with this woman. But I also let her know that I thinking moving to Arizona isn't a pragmatic decision. That she should stay here. But I think by that point she had already vacated the relationship. For real. It was like she just slid out the door into another world. She gave me her ledger and all her crypto and told me goodbye. It's like she thought I wanted the crypto more than her. I told her I would hang on to it for her. In her mind, she felt like I used her for her money, turned into this crazy Bitcoin cult follower, and left her to rot in Arizona. I kept trying to tell her we could have enough to sail off into the sun together forever if she would just trust me. But I know, I had to sound fucking crazy to her. Oh, just take that money you got from enduring a shitty abusive relationship and throw it in my magic internet money scam. It sucked. Bad. Losing her was unbelievably traumatic. But I can't just not do what seems like the most obvious thing I need to do, which is stay employed and keep pouring my money into Bitcoin while it's cheap. But I also understand why she left. I know I must have seemed nuts during the second half of 2019 when Bitcoin was falling off steadily and I was throwing every paycheck I had into it.